Sagittarius, hello. Welcome to Coffee, Sage, and Tarot. Happy New Year. As you can tell, I'm just more than a little excited that 2026 is finally here and we can put 2025 behind us. What a year it's been. For your January overview, I decided to do just a high-level yearly overview just to see what we can expect for 2026, what your overall energy looks like, as well as what you should be leaving behind, anything we need to know, potential overall kind of theme in terms of what obstacle or challenge you'll be facing and trying to overcome for 2026. Alrighty. But first, let's get a snapshot into your energy as we head into 2026. Thank you. Four of Swords. Eight of Wands. So it does feel like we're, I want to say plotting, strategizing, analyzing, focused, right? It doesn't feel like you're retreating. It definitely doesn't feel like you're taking, like you're disassociating from anything. It feels like you're very much engaged, which is why I like this representation of the Four of Swords here. Your head is very much in the game. It looks like you're playing chess, right? And you're trying to plan, strategize, move forward in the most optimal way. Eight of Wands. That's you. That's a Sagittarius card here. How do you move forward? How will you take action, right? Where it feels planned, right? We're ready to act, but what is our intention, right? What is the thought behind the action here? So I guess put another way and put more simply, being mindful, right? As we head into 2026 and overall for 2026. What we're leaving behind, that Nine of Swords energy. I love that. I love that. Let's see here. Oh, that's too many. That's too many. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Interesting here. So we've got here Nine of Swords in terms of what you should be leaving behind. And I do, like I said, and I'll say it again, I love this. Just this idea of putting behind that overthinking, putting behind anything that's literally keeping you up at night, anything that's distracting you from being intentional, from going out and, strategizing here, being mindful, right? We're removing those swords and picking them off, right? Knight of Wands in terms of the obstacle or the challenge, getting fired up, getting worked up, right? It feels like you're not trying to let your emotions get the better of you, let your energy get the better of you. You're trying to be very intentional on where you're directing your energy here, being very mindful of that. And so it feels like we're tempering this night. The challenge is to temper that, right? Not getting worked up when engaging in debate or when we disagree with somebody, right? It's easy to have that night kind of come in and swoop and kind of take your energy somewhere, where the argument or disagreement escalates, right? And we're trying not to let that happen is what I'm seeing here. And instead, how do we overcome this? By being grounded, by staying grounded, by being intentional, by being mindful, by strategizing, by seeing all aspects, by slowing down, most importantly, right? What do we need to know here? That Four of Pentacles, I'm hearing blocked, keeping us safe, but keeping us blocked, keeping us safe, but keeping us blocked. Hoarding here, is what I'm hearing as well. So we'll see how that comes up. Just looking deeply or quickly here, sorry, in your shadow. Overall, yeah, looking very good here. And again, it just feels like you're focusing on what matters, right? Being very intentional, being very mindful of what your focus on, what your intention is, you know, what you're giving your attention to, being in control, right? Maybe you're making it a priority even to meditate more, to be more mindful of the thoughts that you're holding in yourself, right? That could be it as well. So really, really nice energy here, overall for you for the new year. Let's go ahead and get some clarity for Sagittarius for that Nine of Swords in terms of what they should leave behind. Show me that Nine of Swords, please. All right, so I have the Nine of Swords clarified by that Two of Pentacles, Ten of Cups, and Justice, along with the Sun. Ten of Swords, Three of Wands. Yeah. So again, so it's interesting because Aries had this kind of similarly, in that we want to make room for enjoyment. We want to make room for, an abundance perspective, an optimistic mindset, a success mindset, as opposed to looking at all of the things that we lack, all of the ways that we've messed up, all of the wrongs, right? All of those cringe moments. It's almost like how do we leave that behind and open our energy up to enjoying what we have, enjoying our family, enjoying our loved ones, and making a conscious decision to embrace all the good that is coming our way, right? And, you know, it feels like now is the time for that to be happening. It feels like there's a lot of work, at least for the fire signs, as to just being deeply intentional. That's been a theme throughout all of the fire signs here, but also just this idea of working deeply on the self, and things, you know, doing more shadow work and really, really standing in this kind of mindset of, I want better for myself. I want more for myself. I want to stop limiting my capability, what I feel I'm worthy of. And so this is, Sagittarius, I feel, your way of expressing that, right? We see it all, we take it all in. I see who I am, and I'm still worthy, right? I'm worthy, just period. Let's go ahead and see. Let's get some clarity on that Knight of Wands. Show me that Knight of Wands, please, for Sagittarius. Well, the cards are jumping, but nothing's jumping out. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, so in terms of that Knight of Wands, we have the Emperor right side up, the Tower and the Moon both reversed here, along with, just looking in your shadow here, this feels like this energy here. And so the obstacle for you feels like, again, similar to Aries in the sense that we want things to change, but we also don't want to lose anything in the process. And so it's kind of this idea of we want to change, but we want the process to go the way that we envision it, if that makes sense. So still trying to control the outcome, right? That's kind of the sense that I'm getting here. We want to control the outcome. So we're resistant to anything unknown, because it's almost like this idea, well, there is no unknown. I know what I want. I want to, be more intentional and direct my energy accordingly. I want to be more strategic here and focus and hone it my mind on what really matters and let go of anything that doesn't. That's the outcome. So yes, it is the outcome. But we can't, when we start doing that shadow work, and we start diving into these heavy topics, especially if it's our first time doing so, there is this, you kind of have to surrender to the process, right? And that's kind of what I'm not seeing here. It's like this idea of that in itself, surrendering to the process is in itself a process, right? And so it can take us back into just that idea of surrendering to it, can take us and being vulnerable in that way can take us back to that nine of swords, overthinking. Well, okay, this didn't, I thought, doing this technique or going to see this person would make me feel this, but why am I feeling like this? Or why am I having a breakdown now in my car, for 45 minutes just based on, I thought I was having a good day. Right? These kinds of things, like we can't control, once we open that door, we can't control it. We can control the fact that we want to, where we want to go, where we see ourselves headed, but we can't control what kind of comes up, right? Especially when we've done a good job of burying things, right? And kind of stuffing that down so much, which often happens when, we're ready to unearth these things and kind of change direction in this way, right? And really work towards changing our mindset. It's hard. You're kind of retraining your brain in this sense, and that's kind of what I'm seeing for you. So yeah, of course, it makes sense that naturally your inclination is to keep doing what you've been doing. And so we have to kind of even dissect that a little bit more, right? And so it's just this idea of kind of, yes, we have an intention, we're very mindful of it, but that change and opening that door is going to take you to places that even you can't see, right? That's change. That's the nature of, raising your frequency. That's we're blind to the things that we have stuffed down until we start to unearth them. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing here with that Knight of Wands. And yeah, that's a challenge for sure, right? You're taking control. You want to take control of the situation, but it's this idea of, well, we want to control the outcome. Well, you are controlling the outcome, but you're not controlling what comes up within it or how that is presented, right? And so we have to be okay with that process. We kind of just have to let it be. And yeah, it'll be frustrating, and we might get triggered, and you might get easily triggered throughout this year, time and time again, right? This idea of, retraining your brain. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, it becomes this idea of we're having to, juggle a lot of things. That's life. Juggle different demands of our time. Juggle different hats that we wear. Different personalities, right? different moments of chaos, right, as well. And so it makes sense. It's natural that King of Wands is going to want to, come through. Yeah, we'll do him first. Thank you. So we have the clarifiers there just because I started doing them, but we're going to do that Page of Pentacles first, okay? How do we overcome this Knight of Swords? Thank you. Okay. This feels like a very, how do we overcome this? Well, we just move on and we let it go. And it takes a lot of work to do that. This feels like a very in-your-face answer, and it kind of is. Yeah, just working really hard, right, to make sure that we're on the right track, that we're doing the right things here. Page of Pentacles, right, standing grounded, understanding that, this is something that is going to take time, and you're prepared for that. You're prepared to do that. Six of Wands, the World, and the Fool here. This idea of we are traveling into, we're slowly but steadily moving into closing this chapter. Right. So it feels like, what do we need to do to overcome this? Keep sailing, keep traveling in that direction, right? Keep moving away, keep being intentional, right? That Four of Swords matching that Six of Swords, and not allowing that energy or that fired up, that quick, that quick fire to reign. Right? Keeping that energy where you want it to be, keeping that mindset intentional, understanding the urge might be to go this way, and we really want to go this way, but our brain is telling us we need to go this way. And so that's the way that we're going. And we're going to continue doing that until we close the cycle and this major loop on what we're trying to leave behind, which is all of these Nine of Swords, right? And even if it is this idea of picking them off one by one by one by one by one, and dealing with each of the knights that come up with these different swords so that we can put it behind us and really lighten that load, right? Turn that 9 into a Fool and just really feel, that weight release from you, right? So pretty self-explanatory there. I get it. Easier said than done. And again, it feels like, yeah, okay, it looks good in theory, but in practice, it does feel like it will be a little bit more challenging, right? And again, I think you're aware of this, but once we start doing it, it's testing, right? That's how any growth happens, right? It tests us. Four of Pentacles here in terms of what you need to know. Hierophant, Page of Swords, Nine of Wands. Yeah, this feels again a little resistant to what it is we're trying to have happen here. There's I'm wondering if you're taking something too literal, or there's maybe a reminder here of not taking anything too literally. And I'm wondering if there's this emphasis on traditional roles and values. And I'm just wondering if this is somehow tied to this, which is somehow tied to for some of you, your self-worth, and that's what if that's going to come up throughout all of this. Take it as it resonates, okay? But with this here, it does feel like we're focused on the task at hand. Nine of Wands, this is challenging. This is hard. This is, this is life. It's what I'm hearing Spirit saying. This is life. This is your life, right? This is your choice, right? And it feels very like there's a weight here, in the sense of we're taking this work seriously, right? He's very serious. This guy here playing chess, he's very strategic. He's very focused on what he's putting, what he's allowing in his brain and what he's not, right? And so it feels very, again, very heavy, right? Feels very weighted. Perhaps traditional roles and ideals, it weighs heavily in your mind. And so I feel for some of you that those themes will come up as we get further on in 2026 here for you. And it just feels like perseverance is key for you, Sagittarius. Perseverance is key, and kind of that remembering where you want to be, where you are, right? We're not getting stuck in these swords anymore. We're moving on. And so we need to remember that we are not here. We are present, right? And what can we do? Who can we lean on when we're feeling those periods of exhaustion, those periods of fatigue, right, to get us back on track here. Let's see what else we have for Sagittarius. What final thoughts do we have here? Oh, that's a lot. What final thoughts do we have for Sagittarius, please? Four of Cups in reverse. Yeah, so Leo had this as well. We're not ignoring anything. We're very much involved. We're very much alert to our surroundings here, alert to what the universe has in store for us. Emperor, right? That idea of taking charge, right? Which is good. You are taking charge. This is your life. You're taking control, right? It's just when we try to control so much that it becomes the issue. Knight of Pentacles, right? Yeah, taking control, slow and steady, right? Taking one step, measuring that step, taking one step, measuring that step, and analyzing where we are, where we want to be, right? That constant, it's like double checking your homework before you turn it in. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. You're constantly assessing. Perhaps even for some of you, you've set kind of mile markers, right? Or check-ins, right? Monthly, I'm going to do this, or, every 3 weeks, I'm going to do this, or weekly, I have, a journal, and I'm going to journal weekly about my progress, right? These types of things. King of Swords, right? And again, this feels like a mental year for you, very much about what we're thinking, how we're thinking, what we're letting in. And again, it feels like you're playing chess. You're figuring it out. You want to get your mind in a better place. Queen of Pentacles, trusting in yourself, trusting in your ability, trusting in what you have. And again, that kind of grounded, practical approach here. The Hermit, nobody can do this but you. Nobody can figure this out for you but yourself, right? And so that's why I'm kind of like, okay, yes, it's good to lean on people. But I'm wondering if there will be kind of a battle here between becoming too reliant on something versus, knowing when to hold back and rely on yourself. knowing when to ease off on something here. And again, only you can know that mile marker, only you can know that guideline. And it feels like for you, Sagittarius, you will figure that out by doing as we head into 2026. Queen of Cups, yeah, figuring out your boundaries. It could be that you're figuring them out. It could be that they're changing. You're reassessing them, right? Reassessing not what you can tolerate, but what you want to, what you're willing to, right? There's a difference. That's too many. Is there anything else? Eight of Swords. Yeah. Eight of Swords, the World, Five of Cups. Yeah, so on Seven of Swords there. Seven of Swords and Justice. I'm wondering if you're feeling there's some sort of karma associated with your swords, all of the swords that you carry. I'm wondering if you think there's a karmic reason for that, a karmic reason, a karmic sabotaging that's holding you back here. And it feels like maybe we're doing some work on some sort of karmic ties as well, or at least exploring that a little bit further. Eight of Swords here. Yeah, and the World, putting an end to that, putting an end to the ties that bind. And again, that does speak on karmic ties as well. Releasing that, releasing, even generational trauma. Speaking on that, right? So again, this idea of really looking at all these different swords and taking them apart one by one. Do they fit? Great. Do they not? Perfect. Let's let them go. Five of Cups. Yeah, a little bit of, sadness, melancholy, acceptance. What you're working through is working through those negative spaces in your mind. So it makes sense that Five of Cups is showing up here for you. It's not, it's very serious what you're doing. And I think you know that. I think you're taking it very seriously here. And it's, there's an acceptance here. There's a sadness here. But ultimately, what you're doing this for, why you're doing this, and it's so that you can lighten yourself, so that you can truly embrace everything that you are, the awesome Sagittarius that you are, which justice is coming. And that, I feel like it does speak on those karmic ties a little bit, and just really breaking through that. Really breaking through that. Let's see what else. And, it could also speak on, those Queen of Cups, what you're willing to tolerate versus what you can tolerate, right? This idea that that's changing. Stars, you can manifest your every wish. Clover, release your guilt. Yeah, let go of those swords. And again, with the stars, making room, making way for manifestation to occur, right? Knowing your worth, knowing your value, and acting on that. Expectations, don't seek anyone's approval. Very much so. And I feel like that's where we're kind of getting, we might see that as we head into 2026. I feel like that's probably a theme that's going to come up for you, Sagittarius. Whether you want it to or not. Let's see here. Oh. Garden, something lovely will grow from this. Yes, for sure. Feather, think first before you judge. And I feel like that's what you're doing. Being super mindful. Mourning, the world awaits you. Let them go. Yeah. Let them go. Let those swords go. They no longer serve you. I no longer judge or criticize myself. How perfect is this? I am free to love who I am. I forgive myself for any wrongdoing. perhaps some of that karmic justice is, self-acceptance in this way, right? I am incredibly capable whenever I encounter a challenge in my life. I use the experience to learn and grow. I support myself in making the right choices for me. Totally. Totally. Yeah. And again, Sagittarius, it just feels super intentional, super personal here. And, it feels like, at least for the fire signs, super intentional, super vulnerable, but there's such a strength in that, in opening yourself up in that way. And, you do have a general understanding of what it is, that it's a tall order. It feels like you're taking on in this new year here. But you're ready. You're ready. And I love it. I can't wait to see how this unfolds for you. I'm so excited to keep reading for you. I wish you all the best for this new year and beyond. And I'll see you next time. You take the best care, okay?